Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are diving into those big, scary, standardized tests. You know, the SAT, the GMAT, the whole shebang. We're going to explore a pretty simple but really powerful idea. What if getting a great score was actually way easier than you think? Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's just start with something that probably goes against everything you've ever been told about taking a test. You know how they always say, take your time, read carefully? Well, forget that. What if the real secret, the key to unlocking your best score, was to actually go faster?
Now hold on, let's be super clear about this. We are not talking about rushing. Rushing is just chaos. It's careless, it's where you make dumb mistakes. No, we're talking about strategic speed. That's totally different. It's methodical, it's efficient, and it's all about having a plan to get to the right answer, but quicker.
And here's the real goal, the reason we want that speed. It's not just so you can put your pencil down and relax for a few minutes. The whole point is to have enough time to do the entire test over again. Seriously, think about it. Comparing two full sets of your own answers is a million times better at catching mistakes than just, glancing over your work at the end.
Okay, so the big question is, how do you actually get that fast without just being sloppy? Well, it all comes down to a few really simple but kind of game-changing techniques. Let's start with a classic for any math section, the plug-in method. Look, instead of getting tangled up in some crazy algebra, just make it simple. If you see variables like x in the question and in the answers, just pick an easy number for x. Say 2. Solve the problem with x is 2 and you'll get a target number. Then you just plug 2 into all the answer choices, and whichever one spits out your target number, well, that's your answer. It's a massive shortcut.
But being efficient isn't just about using shortcuts. It's also about getting inside the head of the person who made the test. It's about learning to spot the traps they're setting for you.
Just think about it for a second. The test makers have to come up with 3 wrong answers for every question. So what's the easiest way to do that? They just predict the most common mistakes people make. Like with fractions, right? They'll give you an answer choice that you'd get if you incorrectly added the tops and the bottoms. They're literally serving you a menu of potential screw-ups.
And this is why it's so important. Once you start to recognize these mistake patterns, you can often knock out 1 or 2 answer choices immediately. And even if you still have to guess after that, you've just improved your odds from 1 in 4 to like 50-50. That is a huge advantage over the course of a long test. So this brings us to an even bigger, more powerful idea. This whole thinking like the test maker thing, it's not just for math. It's a mindset that you can apply to the entire test, especially in those really tricky reading comprehension sections.
So what is this test maker mindset? It's where you stop looking for the answer that feels right or sounds pretty good. Instead, you start searching for the one answer that is so fact-based, so directly supported by the text that the test maker could easily defend it as the only correct choice.
I love this quote because it just nails the mental shift you gotta make. Next time you're stuck between 2 answer choices, don't ask yourself, which one sounds better? Instead, ask, if I was the one who wrote this test, which answer could I prove is 100% right using only words from the passage? It forces you to think like them.
Now, of course, getting good at this stuff takes practice, but that doesn't mean you have to just grind through hours and hours of boring practice problems. There's a much smarter, more efficient, and let's be honest, a much lazier way to get ready.
Think about it like this. Let's say you're tired. You only have an hour. You could spend that hour wrestling with maybe 1 or 2 tough problems on your own. Or you could spend that same hour on YouTube watching an expert solve dozens of problems, explaining every single step and shortcut along the way.
Seriously, this is one of my favorite low-effort study hacks. It's an incredible way to expose your brain to a ton of different problem types and expert-level strategies. You'd be amazed how much you absorb just by watching. You start to see patterns and tricks you'd literally never find in a textbook.
Okay, so all these awesome tricks and mindsets, they work best when they're built on a solid foundation of, actually studying. So let's run through some rapid-fire tips to make sure that foundation is rock solid.
All right, tip 1, just start. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis trying to plan the perfect study schedule. Just do one problem. Action is everything. Second, stay 1 chapter ahead of your class. Think of it like an emergency fund of knowledge for when life inevitably gets crazy. And third, practice variety. Solving 2 problems from 10 different topics is so much better for your brain than doing 20 problems of the exact same type. It makes you more flexible.
All right, let's talk about study groups for a sec. If we're being honest, for most people, the biggest benefit isn't the amazing collaboration. It's just the social pressure of not wanting your friends to see you scrolling on your phone, right? So what if you could get that same benefit all by yourself? Well, you totally can. You can create your own accountability. Go study in a library or a coffee shop where other people are working, or just sit in front of a window where people might see you. But my favorite trick? Set up your phone to record a time-lapse of yourself studying. It's genius. You can't use your phone because it's recording, and just knowing you're on camera makes you focus.
Now, when you actually have to memorize stuff, nothing, and I mean nothing, beats active recall. Don't just reread your notes. That's so passive. Instead, turn your notes into a quiz. Write down questions, hide the answers, and force your brain to actually retrieve the information. It's way more effective for building long-term memory.
And finally, let's just have an honest chat about what studying actually is. Making a beautiful schedule, color-coding your notes, setting a timer, that all feels productive, but it's not the real work. Real studying is doing problems. It's active recall. It's actually engaging with the material in a way that makes your brain work.
So, at the end of the day, having all these techniques is great, but they don't mean a thing if you don't use them. You have a whole new toolkit now for studying smarter and taking tests better. The only question left is, what's the one problem you're going to go solve today?